I want to show another thing I'm working on here. Um, this is using GPT as well, using the API. I'll show it. It's on my test site. Um, it is possible for other people to use it. You have to enter your own GPT key um, because those things add up. But I've been experimenting with having multiple kind of characters interact with each other. Uh, so in this, the way this works is you set up kind of a basic both a scene description and this is like an initial prompt that describes some of how it should go. You set up the environment description, I guess call it a room, but this can get updated as time goes on. Um, this describes what's going on and GPT is able to update it. And then you have multiple people and and then you can also have an action time in between them. I'll show what that is. And then each person gets, a description, for lots of mood for Elaine. Um, each of these has something set up to try to bring up some tension or something. How to actually get the plot moving forward and get things going is something I'm still kind of experimenting with, but I'll show you what I got here. So we go to the play side. So this is the initial setup. Everyone has a mood that can get updated, a goal that can be updated, and then relationships with the other people, again, which can be individually updated. These descriptions are static throughout the entire thing. Um, and then here is the uh, general description, and here's the changing room description. And so we're going to have one of these people act. This will go pretty quick because I've cached this, but it actually takes several seconds. So over here you can see the GPT requests that are used to build this out. Um, so we have, what will Jerry do next? Here's an indication of stuff that's happened, a description. Jerry has access to his internal mood and goals, but doesn't know about other people. He just knows about the general description of these other people. This is again the static description, the changing thing, and then here's the action. So it's like semi-structured. You can say something, do something, change your mood, or change your relationship, change your goal. Um, it it seems always change mood and always is changing goals, which is not actually the more interesting part. I'm not sure how useful those things are as structured bits of information, but it's kind of what I'm trying out here. So here we say, oh, Jerry says this, changes his mood, does something, changes his goal, and changes the relationship. Um, so some of those are easy, right? Like things that you say are just kind of part of the history, right? They don't actually change anything directly. Um, and then these things change that kind of internal memory that happens, internal history. And then actual actions, exasperatedly slam the refrigerator shut, that we actually have to like decide what happens here. So here um, it says here is the changing kind of description of the environment, and then here's what Jerry does, and then here's the new description. Doesn't change very meaningfully here. So now we do the next person. Just goes round robin here. Um, Again, he does something, paces around, that subtly changes this this description again too. Changes his mood. Here I've actually picked up some plot lines from modern Seinfeld and tried to poke them in there. It kind of works. It kind of doesn't pay attention to them. Um, you can look at them up here. Uh, you know, she accidentally read some messages and now she's not sure whether to tell her boyfriend about it. Um, so here we have two things happening because we finished the round of all three people. So first, I think if you look back here, okay. So here's Elaine, and we get the description, the internal state of Elaine. We get these actions, things that people say and things that people do. and then static, dynamic things. So she does a couple things. She does something. These actions aren't amounting to anything. And then we get the um, time moving forward. So without this second step, people will like hover on the cusp of something. Right? In this case, they're waiting for Kramer's arrival. There's other cases that have done where like people have just been stuck about to do things, and they constantly say like anticipates this, or like if George decides I'm going to go down and to the cafe and teach that barista a lesson, he will just like stand up and get close to the door and get close to the door and get ready to leave and so on and so forth and never actually do it. So here we have the first part of the prompt, which is we use this dynamic part and say, after 5 minutes passes and events transpire, now it's like this. So, um, here the events that have transpired are the important one is the sound of the car pulling up outside. It shows that Kramer is here, and then we do a second one which says, here's what it used to be like, here's what it is like, describe the change. Um, could have done in the other order. I'm not sure which matters. Like, do we talk about change or do we create a new static representation of things, which is better? I don't know. Then here, so we can continue. Again, they're kind of their own voices, their own goals, um, and this will continue. Um, and here, we actually have 2 lines from Elaine here. I've tried to encourage it to have more lines where people say things, and it doesn't seem to do that as much as I would like. Um, so here again, this is the time progressing. Uh, they've gone outside already, so they've changed their environment. Kramer is going to kind of arrive, but because he never gets a turn, he's not going to be an active person in here. Allowing new people to enter the scene is certainly something that's possible. Um, maybe that would be at this time stage. You might be like, are there any new people who have entered the scene? And then please describe them, and then they might get turns as well. Um, Another thing that's kind of an issue here is there's um, a fixed order that people go in, and that means that if you have kind of background characters, uh, they don't know their background characters, and they do things and act and affect things much more than is actually useful. You kind of want to like say, I feel like there might be some way to like ask who are the main characters here, or who needs to react to this. Right? We might have something. One option might be to say, when someone says something, optionally they say it specifically to someone, and if they talk to someone, then that person gets a chance to respond immediately instead of having to like wait for their turn to come around. So yeah, this kind of like moves forward. It's a little bit difficult. Here's one where I like really tried to force it, literally by putting an orc and a hobbit together in a pit and making them fight. I feel find it kind of cruel about it, but in this one, and this isn't cached, so you can see it takes a while. And some of these take multiple requests in order to finish. Um, Here we're doing a simulation in between each person, right? Because it's a very high action um, thing. And so after every moment, we say, okay, 1 moment has passed. What happens now? Um, here the hobbit grabs a bag of magic seeds, which the bag of magic seeds exists because I have put it in the description here. This description is reality, right? And like if it's in there, then it can take it into account. The only kind of like benefit of the fact that it's reality is like the way it is updated is never from a first person perspective. So the Hobbit never gets to choose to update it. The Hobbit can do things, and then we do a second request um, where, like, when you say grab a bag of of things, and we say, you know, this is what the Hobbit does or attempts to do. It's something I've also tried, which can fail. Potentially, the GPT isn't very good at like saying like that doesn't work out and it fails. So if someone starts acting confident, if they start acting brave, if they try to do something, they'll often succeed. And the and GPT is not nearly as critical as we would wish. But so let's just do a quick thing and see where this goes. It will end differently different times. Uh, so let's see again some third audience place. So the orc's feeling boastful, branched its fists. They're facing off. They still haven't actually fought, um, but they each only had one round at this point. And you notice there's a lot of waiting here. There's a streaming mode in ChatGPT, but because this is so compound, it could be streamed, but it would make everything a lot more complicated to try to code that. All right, now the Hobbit channels magical energy, and of course, what do those magical seeds do? I don't know. The GPT gets to invent it and then decide if that's going to work out. Um, so still haven't come to a victor here. Um, you know, the Hobbit has created a magical barrier. Again, no structured thing there, but because it's part of the narrative, that is going to be part of how things continue to happen. It swings the sword. Uh, well, will this conclude or not? That is a question. Of course, it doesn't really understand the physics of this, so the Hobbit has a magical barrier, but they're still clashing. It doesn't really know that hobbits are teeny and have a very hard time fighting an orc. Um, oh, this is doing the standard take forever and be constantly at the edge. Uh, it's just a chance, just a difficulty. I wonder if there also is a possibility of having some sort of ticking time clock that updates the prompt to kind of have like greater urgency, or says like maybe uses GPT to say like have things changed much between these scenes, and if not, then again introduce urgency. Um, now the orc gods has magic. All right, ah, there we go. Um, this doesn't really make sense. The orc and the hobbit continue their fierce clash. The audience is tense. It steps forward, grabs the hobbit by the neck, ready to end the fight. The hobbit struggles, but it is enough. With a final mighty swing, the orc delivers a crushing blow. Sure, the orc won. Then somehow, uh, this ticking time of like how should things progress decided that the way it, um, well, apparently, I guess it was a crushing blow, but not so crushing. So he did actually like stand over the hobbit and didn't destroy him, and instead helps him up. Um, so maybe this summary is not a great summary, and this particular note is not appropriately taken account of, but it's not a wildly inappropriate progression. Um, in general, without this time step, things really never progressed, right? So you saw that point at which it like was constantly going back and forth. Um, like they're going to fight, they're going to do something, something's going to happen. Um, that that doesn't doesn't work. And then if we're curious, we can copy this, go to gist, paste it in, orc fight, and then this is a way to save your thing. Um, and that is pretty much it. I'm going to add one feature that has very little to do with any of this stuff, but I just thought it was fun. is you also can use this. Here it's just using the description. There's some other places where I've had it come up with a actual, appropriate prompt for a thing. And then this is our general, like, this is the kind of image we want, and then this is the specific image we want. And then you get it together, and we ask Dolly for like a circular logo, and we get it. And yeah, little silly words, but that's good enough. And now we go there, we get to see our little icon. Yeah, there's a lot to do to give them autonomy and have action progress in a reasonable way, and maybe have events transpire and people move around or enter and leave the scene. Um, but some of it works, so that's a good place to start.